Well, I chose this theme because I know it's a very hard theme, but whether we like it or not, we need to go on with our relationships. Like from the moment we are born, it's a very complex, difficult facet of our lives, but at the same time, we can't avoid whether we are prepared or not to have relationships. It starts very early from the moment we are born with our mother, our father, family, brothers and sisters, and it keeps evolving as we get older. It gets more complicated when we go to school, deal with teachers, with our friends. We start having more of a deep relationship with our friends later at work, with bosses, peers, society at large. And it just keeps evolving until when we want to find our perfect partner that we dream about, who will fulfill all of our emotional needs, our intellectual needs, physical needs. So it's a very difficult and complex facet of our lives, especially if we're going to analyze this from a psychological point of view. But my specialty is not psychological astrology. So what I'm gonna do is, instead of analyzing from this perspective, I am just going to start showing some of the examples and go about on how these relationships unfold instead of trying to explain why things happen. Okay, so in order to do that, I chose to go straight to showing examples and talking about on how to analyze them instead of explaining exactly how it goes. Okay, so our first example is here. It's brother and sister, celebrity charts of Richard and Karen Carpenter. Okay, they were these sweet duo of brother and sisters, musicians that had a long story filled with so much success, strategy at the same time during the 70s. Karen and Richard they share a very interesting synastry as well as a very nice composite chart, which reveals all of the fame and pain that they went through. And we're going to take a look at these astrologically. But before that, let's take a look at what I consider the first technique that shows more immediately how one affects the other. And this is called the house overlay. Okay, the house overlay shows where one can affect each other most notably at first, especially if you go and take the luminaries into consideration and if they go to the angles. So let's take a look at how Karen was affecting Richard, first of all. So here we see that her moon, which is at 18 degrees of Leo, is right on Richard's ascendant. So that makes Richard feel that she's a very near and dear family bond, right? She has 3 of her planets here, Mars, Neptune, and the South Node in his 3rd whole sign house, okay, of brothers and sisters, you know, that shows also their partnership, right? It goes, her Neptune also goes on top of his sun, which makes, you know, the relationship a little not very clear. He cannot see her very well. Her sun goes in his 8th house. She has the sun in Pisces. Okay, so it brings some of the themes of joint resources, but somewhat also the sorrow that all of that relationship brought to him. And so here is just a very basic way of showing how Richard can affect, how Karen can affect Richard. Now, how Richard does affect her? Well, he has 4 planets in Scorpio, and all of these planets go to her 5th whole sign house. Okay, I like using whole sign houses, although we can also use the cusp of the houses inside of the other houses. So we see that she has the cusp of the 6th house in the 5th house. And that also plays with her life, that, you know, she worked herself so much that she, you know, end up getting sick with, you know, work related, because she worked with in the entertainment business, which is ruled by the 5th house. But anyways, he has all of these planets in her 5th whole sign house, which brings about her creativity, the entertainment. And for those who doesn't know, Richard actually was the creative mind behind Karen. Karen was more of the singer. She was for sure the one that showed more, that was more in evidence, and that is also demonstrated by her chart, because she has the sun in conjunction with her midheaven. But he was the one commanding, choosing the songs, telling her how to sing, making all of the arrangements. So he controlled everything. And his Saturn, we can see that is in her 2nd house, okay, in Virgo, in her 2nd house, and he controlled all of the resources. Some of the interesting facts about their charts, which I thought it was very telling, is Richard has the sun in the 3rd house of brother and sisters, and his sun is the ruler of the ascendant. So you see how he places a lot of importance, and how his sister was very super important in his life. And Karen, as I said, has the sun conjunct the 10th house cusp, but in the 9th house, because if we're going to consider the whole sign houses, Pisces would be in the 9th house. And she is a internationally known figure. Her explosion all over the world for sure was more on her than on him. Like, you know, I am here in Brazil, for example, and they were widely successful here. But what we could see was more Karen than sister, than his brother Richard. So this is the first technique that I would use always when I'm going to do any relationship analysis, especially if it's in the very beginning of a relationship. I use only house overlay, how they affect each other. I not even look too much into synastry right from the beginning, because that's much telling of something that will develop more as the relationship goes along. So if it's just a first meeting and the relationship has not developed too much, I go only for house overlay in the beginning.